All right, let's get more on this then. We're joined via Zoom by climate and energy campaigner at GreenPeace Africa, Thandile Chinyavanhu. Very good afternoon to you, Thandile. Pleasure to see you again here on the show. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. We'll soon be in the winter season, and already we're experiencing load shedding. Some calling it rolling blackouts. Should we panic about what's in store for us ahead? And what are your views on Eskom's failure really to keep the lights on? I'll obey what the CEO is saying there.
I think it's a dire situation that we're in, and we should definitely be concerned considering the energy access issues that we have had in the past, especially around the winter months, largely due to Eskom's maladministration and inability to keep the lights on. Only this time the situation's more dire because we're dealing with the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. And we've seen in the past how the crude volatility in prices that we've seen as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected our electricity and access to that and the cost of it. And now this news of Eskom burning through 9 million liters of diesel just to keep the lights on is even more concerning, because we understand how the prices are going up as a result of this conflict. And it's just a statement to us that this system that we have of reliance on fossil fuels is unsustainable, and definitely Eskom needs to ramp up its renewable energy adaptation and move away from fossil fuels, because this is a completely unsustainable system.
Yeah, and speaking of renewable energy, I mean, must we, as a general public and as South Africans in general, start to really put into action the idea of living off the grid, as some have put it? And just on the back of that, I mean, there've been numerous discussions and conversations for years really about a competitor. In your view, is this a conversation that could see the light of day? Excuse the pun. Could this actually then happen?
Well, what we want to see right now is President Ramaphosa making good on his commitment that he made a few years back to unbundle Eskom. This could possibly relieve a lot of the pressure that they are experiencing. We also want to see Eskom offloading the assets to make room for to pay for some of its debts. They're shouldering a massive debt right now, and as opposed to actually selling the assets to be able to pay for this and to be able to move forward as a utility, instead they are passing the buck on to consumers through their massive tariff price increases. So what we want to see is Eskom making the necessary adjustments that it needs to make right now to relieve the consumer. The harsh reality is that those with the financial means in South Africa can pursue going off the grid, while the rest of us who are unable to do so have to deal with rolling blackouts and lack of access to energy, and that only sets us back economically.
Yeah, and of course, we're also faced with the fact that tariffs are continuing to go up, and despite these challenges at Eskom, we see the tariffs going up, nurses' tariffs. Take us through the rationale there. I mean, you'd often hear people even complaining that, everything's going up except our salaries, for example. And one wonders, how sustainable this would be. And when you mention renewable energy, there have been concerns about how the impoverished in our country, in our society, would be able to sustain, would be able to live off that. Would renewable energy be good for all of us, not just people that can afford?
Well, at this stage, renewable energy is a lot cheaper than any other energy that we have on the market right now. Our government continues to try to pursue nuclear, for example, and a myriad of other fossil fuel driven projects. But at this moment, the cheapest thing that is available to us is renewables. And it's mind-boggling that our government is not pursuing this as vigorously as they should. It's clear from the energy crisis that we're facing right now that we need to diversify our energy mix. We are 80% of our energy is derived from coal, and a large portion, as you realize, of our energy is coming from diesel as well, as a result of trying to keep the lights on. So I think it's quite important for our government to recognize that and shift away from that. But speaking to the point that you made about the tariffs as well, the rationale behind this seems to be that they just cannot manage the debt burden that they have and seem to think that the consumer should be the one to shoulder that burden. So we want to see Eskom heeding the advice that GreenPeace Africa has in the past given them, and that's to offload their assets to relieve some of this debt. There is that 131 billion that has been pledged by global north countries, and we want to see them taking advantage of that and decarbonizing their business model and moving towards renewable energy, which could not only create massive jobs in the sector, but also create an opportunity for our state utility to have some stability, which obviously we've been lacking for the last 17 years that we've been experiencing load shedding.
All right, Thandile, we appreciate your input on the show as always. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
All right, that is Thandile Chinyavanhu, who's a climate and energy campaigner. Let's take a look at more news.